They built 96 houses on my land. Not by accident, on purpose. I inherited 47 acres in Colorado from my grandfather. Paid off and pristine. Went to visit the property for the first time in 3 years and found an entire subdivision. Where my forest used to be, paved roads, streetlights, families moving furniture into houses they'd paid $485,000 each for. The HOA president, a woman who'd never worked an honest day but wore a Rolex like a badge, told me to my face I was a deadbeat squatter trying to scam hard-working families. Said her lawyer confirmed the land was abandoned, so adverse possession made it legally theirs. She'd already deposited $16 million in pre-sales. Here's what I did. Absolutely nothing. Let them finish construction. Watch them landscape, paint, install pools. Then I walked into federal court with my grandfather's original. 1978. What would you do if someone built a neighborhood on your property? Drop your state below. Let's see where my land rights family is watching from. My name's Dakota Flint. Yeah, like the stone. 47 years old, structural engineer, divorced. I drive a 2008 Silverado that burns a quart of oil every month. Nothing special about me except one thing. My grandfather left me 47 acres of Colorado, forest worth about $4.2 million. William Flint bought that land in 1971 for $8,200 cash. Depression-era guy, kept every receipt in leather, ledgers that smelled like pipe tobacco and EB40. When he died in 2019, he left me the property with one note tucked inside the deed. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. I didn't visit for 3 years. Divorced, 2 kids in college, 70-hour work weeks. But I paid property taxes every April, $6,400 annually. Never late, always online. I had the email receipts. August 2022. I finally drove up to scatter Grandpa's ashes, turned off Highway 36 onto the old fire road, and my stomach dropped. The pine forest was gone. In its place, 96 Mediterranean stucco, houses with fake balconies and HOA-mandated beige paint. A carved stone entrance sign read Ridgeline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. I checked my GPS 4 times. Same coordinates. This was my land. At the gatehouse, a security guard stopped me. Residents only. I own this property, I said, holding up my phone with the deed photo. He smirked. Sure, buddy. And I'm Elon Musk. Turn around. Before I could argue, a white Range Rover pulled up. Out stepped Cassandra Whitmore, mid-50s, Botoxed into a permanent look of mild surprise, wearing white linen that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage. She had that specific energy of someone who'd never been told no by anyone who mattered. Problem, Ray? She asked the guard, not looking at me. This gentleman claims he owns the development. Cassandra finally turned. Her eyes scanned me. Work boots, carrot jacket, calloused hands. I watched her mentally file me under pour. How charming, she said. Sweetie, if you're looking for construction work, most crews have filled their
labor positions, but I can take your number. I'm not looking for work.
Lydia Chen. She'd beaten a railroad company in a Wyoming adverse possession. Case so badly they'd offered her a job just to make her stop. Her consultation fee was $500. Paid it with a credit card and prayed. Lydia's office smelled like old leather and lemon furniture polish. The kind of smell that costs money to maintain. She was about 60, gray hair and a tight bun. Reading glasses on a beaded chain. She listened to my entire story without interrupting, making notes in handwriting so perfect it looked like a font. When I finished, she set down her pen. Show me your tax receipts. I pulled out a folder thick enough to hurt someone. Email confirmations, bank statements, county records. Every April payment since 2019, plus copies going back to Grandpa's first payment in 1971. She flipped through them, and I watched her mouth twitch into something that might have been a smile on a less controlled face. Colorado adverse possession requires 18 years of open, continuous hostile possession, and the squatter has to pay property taxes the entire time if you've been paying their claim is stillborn, so I get an injunction. Stop construction. You could. She closed the folder, but here's what I'd do instead. And you're going to think I've lost my mind. Let them finish building. I stared at her. What if you stop construction now? Cassandra's company declares bankruptcy. Your land gets tied up in a 3-year litigation circus with 96 families who bought homes in good faith suing everyone, including you, banks, title companies, insurance companies. It becomes legal whack-a-mole. She leaned forward. But if you let them finish, then file for declaratory judgment. You own 96 completed houses. Cassandra's company has committed textbook fraud, selling property they don't own. They'll
I
be
saw the
desperate
whole
to settle
thing,
because
officer.
the alternative
Came out
is
of that
prison.
alleyway right
My
before
hands
the
were
siren
shaking.
started.
What if they somehow
I
win?
could point 'em out
They
if we
won't.
drive back
But
down
even
there
in
now.
some parallel universe where they did, you've lost nothing. Your land's already occupied. The difference is whether you fight one corrupt developer or 96 traumatized families. It was cold, strategic, brutal, and it made perfect sense. How much, I asked. 40,000 in legal fees, maybe 50, but when we win, and we will, the court awards damages for trespass, unjust enrichment, fraud, and attorney's fees. You'll own the houses outright. Sell them, rent them, or negotiate a settlement worth millions. I had $12,000 in savings. My Silverado needed a transmission. My daughter's tuition payment was due in January. I'll figure it out, I heard myself say. One last thing, Lydia's voice dropped. Don't contact Cassandra. Don't post on Facebook. Don't tell anyone except your kids and maybe one trusted friend. In property litigation, surprise is worth more than gold. I hired her that day, signed a retainer agreement that made my stomach hurt. September bled into October. I drove past Ridgeline Heights twice a week.
Framers swarmed like ants. The air smelled like sawdust and diesel fuel. Plumbers hauled coils of PEX tubing. Electricians snicked wire through walls. And every time I visited, I took time-stamped photos. Cassandra spotted me during her third week. She made a phone call. I could see her from 200 yards away, gesturing at my truck like I was a bomb. 20 minutes later, a sheriff's cruiser pulled up behind me. Deputy Torres, young guy, probably late 20s, with the uncomfortable body language of someone caught between a rock and a campaign donor. Sir, need to see your license. I handed it over. I'm on a public road, officer. He walked back to his car, ran my plates, came back looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Mrs. Whitmore says you've been harassing her, following her, taking pictures. I'm documenting construction on property I own. Check Boulder County records. Parcel APN 55,932,408. Owner, Dakota Flint. Torres shifted his weight. Look, if there's a property dispute, that's civil court, but she's filed a formal complaint. If she calls again saying you're threatening her, I'll have to take action. Understand? Translation, she donates to the Sheriff's Re-Election Fund. You don't. Understood. He left. I kept taking pictures. By November, the first families moved in. U-Hauls blocking cul-de-sacs, kids on scooters. The smell of pizza delivery mixing with fresh paint. I watched a couple carry a crib into house number 43. Watched another family plant a maple tree in their front yard. And I felt sick because these weren't villains. They were people who'd saved for down payments, who believed they were living the American dream. But Cassandra, she was about to learn that stealing costs more than money. Thanksgiving week, Cassandra sent me a certified letter. I signed for it at the post office. And the clerk, a woman named Deb, who'd known my grandfather, wrinkled her nose when she saw the return address. Whitmore Development, LLC. That's the lady building those McMansions on Old Mill Road, right? She handed me the envelope. My sister tried to buy one. They wanted $485,000 for 1,800 square FT. Highway robbery. I opened it in my truck. Legal letterhead. Brian Kemper's signature at the bottom. 3 pages of dense legalese that boiled down to stop trespassing or we'll sue you for harassment. There was a photo attached. My Silverado parked on the public road taken from inside the subdivision. Someone had circled my license plate in red Sharpie, handwritten in the margin. Document everything. I drove straight to Lydia's office. She read the letter, then started laughing. Not the polite kind, but the genuine belly laugh of someone who'd just been handed a gift. They're documenting their own fraud, she said, wiping her eyes. Every letter they send, every photo they take, every interaction. It's evidence that they knew there was a dispute and kept building. Anyway, this is beautiful. Doesn't feel beautiful. Feels like I'm being stalked.
You are. But here's what you're going to do. Nothing. Let them waste money on legal threats. Let them generate evidence. We'll file in January, right after the holidays when everyone's distracted. She pulled out a yellow legal pad. Meanwhile, I need you to get me everything about Cassandra Whitmore. Property records, business filings, tax liens, anything public. I want to know who's financing this development. I spent the next 2 weeks becoming an amateur detective. Turns out when you're an engineer, you know how to read plats, survey maps, and permit applications. I started with Boulder County's online records. Whitmore Development LLC was registered in Delaware. Always a red flag. Delaware corporations are like offshore bank accounts for people who want to hide things, with Cassandra as the sole managing member. But the financing came from Ridgeline Capital Group, a Denver-based investment firm. I dug deeper. Ridgeline Capital was owned by 3 partners, and one of them was married to Cassandra. His name was Preston Whitmore, a real estate developer who'd been sued twice for construction defects and once for defrauding investors in a failed resort project. The cases had been settled quietly, records sealed. So this wasn't just Cassandra's scam. It was a family business. I found more. The Boulder County permits listed the land as formerly tax delinquent, acquired via adverse possession. Claim filed March 2022. But here's the thing about adverse possession. You can't just claim it. You have to prove it in court first. Get a judgment, then record that judgment before you can sell property. They'd skipped that step. They'd filed a claim, then immediately started selling lots as if the claim had been granted. That's fraud. Premeditated, documented fraud. I sent everything to Lydia in an encrypted email because by now, I'd learned that developers like the Whites have ways of making people's lives difficult. She called me an hour later. Dakota, this is better than I thought. Preston Whitmore has a pattern. If we can prove he knew about your ownership and proceeded anyway, this becomes criminal fraud, not just civil trespass. How do we prove that? Let me worry about that. You just keep your head down. But keeping my head down got harder when Cassandra escalated. December 3rd, I got a call from Boulder County Code Enforcement, a man named Rick Polson, who sounded tired in the way government workers do when they're handling their 50th complaint of the day. Mr. Flint, we've received a report that you're operating an illegal dumping site on parcel 5593240. What? I don't even live there. The complaint says there are piles of construction debris, old vehicles, and possible hazardous waste. I'm required to inspect. If the violations are confirmed, you'll face fines starting at $500 per day. I drove up that afternoon with my phone recording. The property was pristine. Well, except for the 96 houses, because Rick Polson met me at the entrance, clipboard in hand. He was about 50, sunburned, wearing a county vest. He walked the perimeter, checked behind the houses, took photos. Finally, he came back shaking his head. There's nothing here. Someone filed a false report. Who filed it? He checked his notes. Anonymous tip. But it came through Mrs. Whitmore's office as a concerned citizen complaint. So she's trying to get me fined for violations that don't exist on land she's currently occupying. Rick looked at me for a long moment. Off the record, I've inspected 6 Whitmore projects. Every single one had complaints, filed against neighboring landowners, right before construction permits were approved. It's a pattern. He handed me his card. If you need a witness statement, call me. I drove home with that card in my pocket and rage in my chest. Cassandra wasn't just stealing my land. She was trying to bury me in bureaucratic quicksand while she finished construction. But what she didn't know, what nobody knew except Lydia, was that every move she made was digging her grave deeper. By Christmas, 84 houses were occupied. Families hung lights, kids built snowmen, and I had a court date scheduled for January 12th. That's January 4th, 8 days. Before my court date, I got a text from my daughter Emma at 11 p.m. Dad, did you get arrested? Someone posted on Facebook that you're harassing families in a neighborhood. It has 300 shares. My stomach dropped. I opened Facebook, which I hadn't used since my divorce, and found the post immediately. It was pinned at the top of the Boulder County Community Watch group. Written by Cassandra herself. Alert! Local man Dakota Flint has been stalking our family-friendly Ridgeline Heights community, taking photos of children, making residents feel unsafe. He claims to own our neighborhood despite clear legal title. Boulder County Sheriff's aware. Please report any sightings. Protect your families. The comments were a dumpster fire. People calling me a predator, suggesting I belonged on a registry. Someone posted a photo of my Silverado with the license plate visible. Captioned, "This is his truck. Stay safe, everyone." My hands were shaking so hard I could barely type. I called Lydia. She answered on the first ring. I saw it. Don't respond. Don't comment. Don't defend yourself. She's calling me a pedophile, Lydia. My daughter's crying. My son called asking if I'm going to jail. I know. And it's defamation, and we're adding it to the lawsuit. But if you engage, you look guilty. Let me handle this. Her voice softened. Dakota, this is what desperate people do. She knows we filed. She knows her attorney's seen your evidence. This is a Hail Mary to discredit you before trial. It's working. I've gotten 12 messages from people I went to high school with asking what's going on. Good. Screenshot everything. Every share, every comment, every message. It's all evidence of malice.
I spent the next 3 hours documenting the post spread. By midnight, it had 847 shares. Someone had created a hashtag #StalkerStopDakotaFlint. I didn't sleep. The next morning, my boss called me into his office. Martin's a good guy. Ex-Navy, ran the structural engineering firm where I'd worked for 14 years. He closed the door, which is never a good sign. Dakota, I got a call this morning from a potential client. They Googled our firm and found a situation with your name attached. My chest tightened. The Facebook post? Yeah, he rubbed his face. Look, I know you. You're solid. But this client's a school district and they're nervous about optics. They specifically asked if you'd be on the project and you told them no. I told them you're on personal leave pending resolution of a legal matter, which effective today you are. He pulled out an envelope. Paid leave 2 weeks. If this gets resolved, you're back immediately. If it doesn't. He didn't finish. I took the envelope. Understood. Walking to my truck, I passed Jenny from accounting. She'd always been friendly. Brought cookies at Christmas, asked about my kids. She saw me coming and literally crossed to the other side of the parking lot. That's when I understood what Cassandra was doing. She wasn't just attacking my legal claim. She was attacking my life, my reputation, my job, my ability to exist in my own community. I sat in my truck and called Lydia again. They're destroying me, I said. I just got put on leave. People are crossing the street to avoid me. I'm filing an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against Cassandra. Defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, interference with business relations. We'll have a hearing Monday. She paused. But Dakota, you need to understand something. This gets worse before it gets better. If you want to walk away, I'll negotiate a settlement. You'll get something, maybe $500,000. You can move. Start over. I thought about Grandpa's note. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. No, I said we finish this. Then buckle up because they're going to hit harder. She was right. January 7th. Someone spray-painted pervert on my garage door. I filed a police report. The responding officer, not Torres, someone older named Patterson, took photos with the enthusiasm of a man filling out a DMV form. Any idea who did this? Check the Facebook post going around. Probably someone who believed it. He wrote something down. We'll increase patrols in your area. That night I slept with a baseball bat next to my bed. January 9th, 3 days before court, my lawyer Emma called crying. Someone had sent her the Facebook post with a message. Your dad's a creep and everyone knows it. I drove to her apartment in Fort Collins, found her on her couch with her roommate, both looking at me like, I might be radioactive. Dad, just tell me the truth.
The land, Cassandra, the lawsuit, the houses. Showed her grandpa's deed, the tax receipts, Lydia's court filings. Emma read through them, and I watched her face change from fear to fury. So she's lying about everything. Everything. Then we need to fight back. Lydia says, we wait for court. Emma shook her head. Dad, you've been playing defense your whole life. Divorce, work, everything. Just once hit first. I didn't respond, but her words stuck. January 11th, the night before court, I got one final message. It was from a number I didn't recognize. Drop the lawsuit or everyone finds out what you really are. I forwarded it to Lydia. She texted back immediately. Perfect. Bring your phone to court tomorrow. We're going to bury them. The Boulder County Courthouse smelled like floor wax and recycled air. I met Lydia in the hallway outside courtroom. 3C at 8:45 a.m. She wore a Navy suit that probably cost more than my truck, carrying a leather briefcase that looked like it could stop bullets. You ready? She asked. I wasn't. My hands were sweating. I'd worn my only suit, the one from my daughter's high school graduation 3 years ago, that now felt too tight in the shoulders. Do we have enough? We have a nuclear bomb. Trust me. She checked her watch. Cassandra's attorney filed a motion to dismiss. Yesterday at 4:57 p.m., classic delay tactic. Judge Ramirez hates that. We walked into the courtroom. Cassandra sat at the defendant's table with Brian Keir and Preston Whitmore. Her husband, who I'd only seen in property records, Preston was about 60, gray hair gelled back, wearing a suit that screamed, "I've settled 3 fraud lawsuits." He was whispering to Keir, both of them looking relaxed, confident. Cassandra saw me and smiled. Actually smiled like she'd already won. Judge Angela Ramirez entered, a woman in her 50s with reading, glasses and zero patience in her expression. We all stood, be seated. Case number 2023 CV000847, Flint versus Whitmore Development LLC and associated parties. She looked at Keir. Counselor, I received your motion to dismiss at 5 p.m. yesterday. You want to explain why you think that's appropriate? Keir stood. Your Honor, the plaintiff's claim is defective on its face. Whitmore Development holds clear title via adverse possession. Mr. Flint abandoned the property for over 3 years. Did he pay property taxes? Judge Ramirez interrupted. Well, yes. But then adverse possession fails under Colorado statute 384101. What else do you have? I watched Keir's confidence crack like cheap concrete. Your Honor, the title company conducted a thorough search. Mrs. Chen. The judge turned to Lydia. Lydia stood and, I swear the temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. Your Honor, we're not here to debate adverse possession. That claim is frivolous. We're here because the defendants knowingly committed fraud. She opened her briefcase. I'd like to submit Exhibit A, an internal email from Preston. Whitmore to Cassandra Whitmore dated February 8th, 2022. Those tobacco-scented pages that proved continuous ownership for 50 years. Preston took the stand. Lydia destroyed him in 40 minutes. Every question was a trap. Every answer dug him deeper. By the end, he was stammering, contradicting his own deposition testimony, looking to Diane Kelso for rescue that never came. Cassandra refused to testify. Fifth Amendment. Her lawyers probably begged her not to. She'd have been eviscerated. At 4:47 p.m., Judge Ramirez announced she'd issue a ruling within 24 hours. We filed out into the hallway. The homeowners mobbed me. Sarah Chen grabbed my arm. What happens to us? She asked. If you win, do we lose our homes? I looked at Lydia. She nodded. You keep your homes? I said loud enough for everyone to hear. Every single one of you. The Whitmore committed fraud, not you. You'll own your houses free and clear. That's the settlement we're demanding. The crowd went silent, then someone started clapping, then another. Within seconds, 40 people were applauding in a courthouse hallway. Cassandra walked past, flanked by her attorneys. She looked at me once, her eyes full of pure hatred, then disappeared into the elevator. Outside, Patricia Hughes caught me on the courthouse steps. Mr. Flint, how are you feeling? I looked at the cameras at Emma standing beside me. At the Rockies in the distance, snow-covered and eternal. Like my grandfather's watching, I said, and he's proud. That night, the clip went viral. 3 million views in 12 hours. The next morning, Judge Ramirez issued her ruling. We won everything. Judge Ramirez's ruling was 18 pages long, but the first paragraph said everything. The defendants engaged in a calculated, systematic scheme to defraud Dakota Flint of his lawful property through false, adverse possession claims, bribery of public officials, and intentional misrepresentation. Such conduct is reprehensible and will not be tolerated by this court. The order gave me full title to all 47 acres, including the 96 houses. It awarded me $4.22 million in damages for trespass, emotional distress, and loss of use. It required the White Source to pay Lydia's legal fees, $73,000, and it referred the case to the U.S. Attorney's Office for criminal prosecution. Cassandra and Preston were done. Ridgeline Capital dissolved within a week. Their personal assets, the Range Rover, the Aspen vacation home, Cassandra's jewelry collection, went to auction to pay creditors. Preston was indicted on 6 federal fraud charges. Cassandra took a plea deal, 3 years probation, $500,000 restitution, and a lifetime ban from Colorado real estate development. The title company lost its license. Brian Kemper resigned from his law firm to avoid disbarment. But the ruling created a new problem. What to do with 96 families who'd bought homes on my land? I could have forced them out, sold the houses myself, pocketed another $16 million.